Hey guys, Ariel over here at Nyth. Today I wanted to do a little look at my lighting here. If you hear some noise on the floor, that's Burley chewing on his bone. Anyway, I do have electric lights because I do have a small solar setup, but I don't use them that much for several reasons. One of which is that I do have a limited amount of power, so if I'm going to do something at night, and at this time of year we're headed into the shorter days of the year, so night as far as dark time is a significant portion of the day here. It's by the shortest days of the year, it's usually dark by like 4 p.m. and doesn't get daylight till sometime after 8 in the morning, so there's a lot of hours of dark. So I do use a lot of lighting. In the summer I hardly use any lighting at all. I need to go to bed by the time it actually gets dark. But I have a small solar setup, so I don't want to use more electricity for things than I need to. And more importantly for me is the quality of the light that your body is exposed to. You can do your own research on this stuff, but especially after the hours when it gets naturally dark outside and there's no sunlight, the kind of light that you're exposed to really affects things like your melatonin, which affects your sleep cycle, and your sleep, and a lot of other things affect your health. It affects your eyes and so on. So I really like real lights, like the glow from my wood stove and oil lamps. As you can see, I've got a little collection here. And a lot of people have had questions about them, so I just wanted to do a quick overview of them. Let's start with this one I use least often. This is a lantern, so you can actually carry it outside. And I'll try to have links to all of this stuff that I can find down below. Some of these are antiques, but there's similar ones available now. This little lever opens up so you can see into the wick, which is right there. This knob turns the wick up and down. You would fill it with oil right there, but it's full. So to light it, and I like these long lighters for everything because they're so handy. But you light the wick like that. You turn it down. If you can put this down, then you can see the flame. But you can turn it up or down with this. If you turn it up too high, you will start to get smoking, and that's true of any kind of oil lamp. So you don't want it too high, but you can adjust that there. And then this is made so that you can carry it around while you're outside or something. The reason I don't use this one a lot is most times when I'm running outside at night, I do want all of my hands free, and so I often wear a headlamp if I need to grab something, because I can put that on my head and not need to have a hand for the lantern. But it certainly provides light, and it works well, and there's a handle, so if you're going out to an outbuilding, you could hook it on the wall or set it somewhere. With any kind of flames, you do, of course, have to exercise caution, especially if you have children or pets or something like that around that could knock things over, because you could start a fire. To turn this off, you just turn it down pretty far. There's just a faint blue flame, and blow it out. And that's that one. The ones I use more frequently are all these guys that I use for my actual indoor lighting at night. To light any of these, you pretty much, again, there's a wick in here, and they all have a little knob that turns it up or down. Light that up. You have to take the chimney off to do that. Put that back on there carefully. And again, you can turn it up or down, but if you turn it up too high, it will start to smoke. And if your chimney gets all smoky, you do have to wash this glass every now and then, just because it gets dust on and such. And the more crud that's on there, just like a light bulb or whatever, the less light is going to come through it. Now this one is actually an antique one. This was one of my great-grandparents. This is a little newer one. You can find these often in thrift stores and antique stores and garage sales and stuff, usually for fairly inexpensive amounts. And I don't need the light here, so again, I'm just going to turn it down and blow it out. You do sometimes get one little puff of smoke right when you blow it out. That's pretty normal, but it's out. So these two are pretty much the same thing. This one actually is very similar, but cuter. It's a tiny little baby one. And the reason I got this is because if I want to like lay in bed and read at night, which I enjoy with a natural light, these are all so tall because of the angle of my ceiling in the loft. The ceiling clears them, but not by a whole lot, and there's definitely heat that comes out of the top of a lamp because that's a flame in there. And I didn't want to risk heating the ceiling too much and starting a fire, so I found this little baby one, which has plenty of clearance from the ceiling, and it's got a little tiny round wick. And that's turned up way too high. But it definitely provides enough light to have beside my bed. It probably doesn't show up very well here in the daylight, but I can read, and it has a lot more space for air to circulate. So that is those. And then this one is the one that's the most different. This is an Aladdin lamp. These are pretty pricey. They're usually $200 to $300 something if you buy them new. This one you can probably see is not new. I found it at a thrift store. It was missing the glass, which tends to get broken, and the mantle inside, which they also wear out. Those are both things you're going to have to replace over time eventually if you're using oil lamps a lot. And I don't think anyone at the thrift store knew what it was because it was for sale for $8. So I got this guy, and the way these work, they have a wick like the others. Now the wick is drawing up lamp oil, and I should talk about that for a minute. I use is a kerosene-based lamp oil, but it's the more expensive one. I'll link to that down below as well. That is very clean burning. People have asked me about fumes building up in my tiny house and such. I do not have a problem with that, other than that little puff of smoke you get right when you blow it out. If you buy a good clean burning oil, you should not be having fumes in your house. Several people have asked why don't I burn olive oil, because that would be cleaner. You can make an olive oil lamp. It's thicker than this kerosene, which is even like more liquid than water, and so you can't put olive oil in one of these lamps. It doesn't wick fast enough up the wick to keep an even flame burning. You get lots of smoke and lots of crud in the air. There are olive oil lamps. I don't have one, but there are ones that are designed to burn olive oil. So if you want to do that, you just have to have one that is set up for drawing a thicker oil through, and these are not. But anyway, this burns the same kind of oil. It has a wick that pulls the oil up. This whole chimney part comes off, and you always want to be a little careful with it. Any of this glass stuff. This wick, all the rest have like a flat wick like that. You know, that is drawing oil well, except for the little baby one. It's got a tiny little round one. This one has a big round one that actually has a hole in the middle, and so it goes the whole way around here. If I turn it way up, you can see it there. You don't need it up that much, but you light it just like all the others. Usually it's helpful to turn it up a bit to light it, and it takes a second for the flame to kind of crawl the whole way around the circle there. There you can see it's starting to get tall. That's up, you know, far too high for burning. Now that's going to make some light. Again, you can't really see this in the daylight, but some light just from that. But what's special about an Aladdin lamp is that it's got this mantle on top as well, which is a little bit like a kerosene lantern kind of mantle, if you've ever used one of those or your parents or grandparents did. That is very fragile, that little like lacy looking netting thing. Once it's been lit the first time, they're usually blue and when you buy a new one, and once it's been lit the first time, basically it turns to ash, and if you touch that, it will crumble. So you do have to be very gentle with that. Now the rest, when you light them, they're bright. That's just the way they are. You can still hear Burley chewing away on his elk bone. This one takes a little bit more time to warm up. So I'm going to show you what it looks like at night here so you can actually see how bright it makes it. So here's me doing the exact same thing at night, lighting it, you know, turning the wick up to get it lit the whole way around, putting the globe on, and now here you can see how it actually starts to gradually glow brighter and brighter and brighter. This is about almost 14 minutes of time here, fast forwarded so that you don't have to get bored, but just to show you how it does gradually warm up. The flickering light you're seeing, by the way, is a log burning in the fireplace. These lamps don't or should not flicker at all, so the flickering light is a log in the fireplace there that's reflecting off the walls, but the lamp itself is steadily getting brighter.
Now, as it does get brighter here in a second, you'll see it can get really bright. It's almost blinding to look directly at, kind of like looking right at a 100-watt bulb. And so for that reason, some people do use lampshades, kind of like I'll mention here in a minute, talking about the chimney. You do have to have a shade designed specifically for it because an Aladdin lamp does get very hot. You can't just put any random papery lampshade around it, or you will definitely end up with a fire. But it does get really bright. You can see what a difference that is there. I don't have one. Maybe someday I'll get one, but I'm not usually needing to look directly at it for anything anyway. And here I'm going to show you the difference between how bright that gets and why these lamps are more expensive versus the light provided by the regular wick lamp without the mantle. Now, they look really bright when they're both sitting there beside each other, but when I turn out or blow out the Aladdin lamp, you can see how much dimmer it gets with just the other wick lamp there. But with the Aladdin lamp, that's plenty bright enough to use in my house, especially as really the only light. If I want to light something in another corner, I can use one of the other ones. But there you can see how much dimmer it is having just the other wick lamp.
The rest of these provide plenty of light to work. Even one lamp, I'll just light like this one at night, and I have plenty of light to see everything I'm doing around the house. But if I want to really make this place lit up like daylight, this one gets much brighter. Now, it takes about 15 minutes to fully warm up. If I turn this up too high right now, you can see the mantle start to glow, but if I turn it up too high right now, I'm actually going to get black soot on that, and it's not going to light well. You have to kind of give it a chance to warm up, but then it does make this entire place bright like daylight because somehow that mantle disperses the light, and it really does light it up. So again, I don't need to burn all of my lamp oil to blow it out. Just the same thing, turn it down. And again, you get one little puff of smoke right when you blow it out. And that's really it. So there is my oil lamps that I use. Most of these, well, I guess 3 of these are antiques and 2 are more modern ones. But like I said, you can almost always find oil lamps at thrift stores and antique stores. And there's my clock again. And all of that for pretty inexpensive. And you may have to buy new wicks. It's just a cottony wick. And if you're going to get an Aladdin lamp, you will probably need to get new mantles over time because if you're gentle with them, they last a while, but they do eventually come apart and you have to have a new one. The other thing to be aware of is if you have an Aladdin lamp, they get so much hotter than one of this kind because I guess there's more flame and more heat. You can't put one, these globes are kind of interchangeable. I could put that one on there and so on, as long as they're similar size. The little one's obviously littler. You cannot put one of these on here. It is so hot, it will shatter this glass. You have to have an Aladdin brand, or at least Aladdin compatible chimney for that, and you do want some space on top of this. When that's burning, you can feel some serious heat put off here. So if you live somewhere a lot warmer than me, where it's not like -30 Fahrenheit in the winter, this actually can provide a good bit of heat. If you only need a little bit of heat in your house in the evening, that lamp could provide both your light and heat. But you do want to be cautious with not putting anything close to the top of that because it is warm. So just be aware of that. But anyway, this is what I use as my first choice of lighting system, and I really like the quality of the light. It's just, how almost everyone loves watching a fireplace or sitting around a fire pit or having a bonfire outside and roasting marshmallows or whatever. You get this, or candles. You get the same kind of light, and the way it registers in your eyes and your brain, and it's a natural light that lets your sleep cycle do its normal thing without getting disrupted by the blue light that comes off of things like computers or whatever you're watching this video on right now and such. So it is helpful if you have sleep issues to stay away from those blue artificial types of light, especially a couple hours before bedtime. So, and plus this all works if the grid is down or the power is out or a hurricane has knocked out services in your area and so on. So it's, even if you don't want to heat with or light with them pretty full time like I do, you might want to consider having 1 or 2 on hand just in case you need it. But there's a little overview for those of you guys who have been asking me questions about my oil lighting, and hopefully that answers them. If I missed something you're wondering about, let me know down below and I'll do my best to answer. Thanks for watching, folks. If you're interested in more info on my off-grid tiny house life, check out some of my other videos here. And if you like what you're seeing, click the little picture of my house to subscribe and then hit the little bell so YouTube actually notifies you every time there's a new video available. See y'all next time.